Hi, welcome to the next episode of Leap Forward from Riesterer Schnell. I'm Tim Duel, equipment consultant with Riesterer Schnell. Been with the business 22 years. Today I'm here with Garner from Weekly Farms. We're here in Plainfield, Wisconsin, and we're going to talk about guidance, precision, and technology and how it relates to the farm. Brad, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the farm here and what you guys do?
I've been at Weeklies for, 12, 15 years or so. We're a vegetable farm. We do peas. Potatoes is our primary crop. Potatoes for chipping and for frying. Sweet corn, green beans, and field corn. So a little bit of everything. Yeah.
For potatoes, you're planting on the vegetable side. How many planters are you running currently?
We run 3 Harrison planters for our potatoes.
Okay.
Nope.
All run through
Deere guidance with implement steering and guidance. AutoPath documentation all at the same time. Yeah.
So how do you feel, what's important to you for guidance on the farm? Why is guidance important in general?
Well, we have 2 of our planters run together in the same field. The third one is off on his own stuff. So the 2 need to be able to know where they're at. They share the line, they share their applications. One person can see the other person where they're at in the field, so they're not going down the same pass or something on a long field. They can see what's been sprayed. The easy way to make sure everything's done, but it keeps all the rows nice and straight, makes the best use of the field. You don't have any wasted areas. And then we can go back with AutoPath recording that we do at the same time. We can go back with our hillers or inline rippers or anything that we go after the fact sprayer, and we can adjust the spacing so that we go down the same rows, and then everything's just neat and tidy and easy for everybody.
And if I remember right, with vegetables especially, being the sprayers in the same row, the tractor in the same row, that's important just for the damaging of the crop.
Yes, yeah. We try to cut down as many passes through the potatoes once they start vining out as we can. So the sprayer goes down the same passes every, maybe 10, 12 times in a season, but we try to keep the passes to a minimum. And so we try to make the best use of that spacing as we can. So that's where the AutoPath comes in, because you can set it so that your least number of passes basically. So you use that, and then it cuts down on your passes across the field.
And so if with extra passes, what does that do negatively to a crop like potatoes, where corn and beans, we don't see as much of an issue there sometimes?
It just tends to decrease the storability of the potatoes, I guess. There's usually some issues with the rows because there might be water sitting in them for extended periods of time or whatever. So it just it creates issues with the storability of the potatoes. So the fewer tracks you have, the better off we are.
The better the crop, the health of the plants in general.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the most tractors on the farm are John Deere, all tractors are John Deere on this farm. They've been progressing and improving over the years. So we've gone through the 2630s to the Gen 4s, and now we're to the Gen 5s. Yep. What have you seen as a improvement, or what do you like about the newest Gen 5 screen in comparison to the previous?
Well, we just got the first couple Gen 5s, but so far from what I've used, the screen's obviously bigger. It's a clear, brighter screen. It gives you more abilities to do stuff with your layout and stuff, partly because of the size and the functionality of it. One thing I really like is the Google Map background you can put on there now. So that's pretty handy. I do a lot of little plots for seed growers, and so specific ones don't like their plots in an irrigation track. So with the Google Map on the background, you can make sure you're in between irrigation tracks, so his whole plot is right in a perfect spot for him. So, but yeah, it's bigger, clearer, and it seems like it's more user friendly, I guess.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure I'll learn more things as the year goes on, but it's only been a couple weeks of it now so far.
Sure. Yep.
So,
but so far so good at what you're feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're quicker to boot up. Not such a delay to, each one kind of gets a little faster to boot up when we start up. The 2630 was slow, the Gen 4 was better, and now we're a little bit better yet.
Yep.
So
good. So this area was very heavily base station because it's such a importance on the accuracy being half inch, the RTK accuracy. We need to run that, right? So everything was base station across. We were running that pretty heavily. Farm is now fully switched over to SFRTK through a 7,000, 7,500 type of receiver. Have you seen an improvement there as far as usability? Have you seen any difference in the radio based versus the satellite based? What's your feeling from last year to this year?
I guess I haven't seen anything negatively about it. It's easier. You don't have to change the base stations, or the towers, excuse me.
Yep.
So, before with 4 or 5 different tractors running, because we go from Watoma all the way north of Almond, so you would have to change base stations. So we don't have to mess with that anymore, which is easier because it's usually something I would have to talk somebody through or whatever.
Sure. Yep.
So that part's simpler. The accuracy seems just as good as what we had before, so there's no issues with that. So so far it just seems simpler.
Okay.
So
As far as carrying over from previous maps to the current maps, has that been
I haven't
pretty
had any
seamless?
issues so far. Nope.
Okay.
No. So the only issue is if we ever go autonomous or have an autonomous tractor, you'll have to go and redo all of our boundaries
Sure.
to make them jive. But no, so far everything's been good.
That's good. So is there anything as far as so we, like I said, talk about document sharing,
Nope.
everything. Is there something that we've done over the years here on the farm that you're like, man, this has been huge as far as just saving grace having this type of system, whether it's AutoPath, whether it's data syncing, document sharing, operations center, I guess.
So the ops center I love because I can see, if somebody has a problem with a tractor, I don't have to try to drive clear there. I can, if they're 20 minutes from the farm or 20 minutes from where I'm at and I'm in a tractor planting, I can just look at my phone, talk them through it by looking at their screen most of the time. And so that's a big time saver. I don't have to stop planting and then drive 20 minutes or wherever I'm at to get to them to walk them through it. So the, op center with remote display access is a big thing. AutoPath I really love. I mean, we kind of got into it a couple years ago and I didn't set things up perfect myself. So it wasn't really what we thought. Last year, I think we got things dialed in the way we wanted it, at least for row crop or for vegetables, I guess, like corn and sweet corn and green beans and stuff. We didn't really use it on potatoes last year, but for all the other stuff we used it, and the cultivator guy likes it. The only issue right now is that I have to finish planting, and then if somebody wants to spray right behind me, they want the AutoPath file like instantly. Well, I have to stop planting, go to the office, make the file, send it to the sprayer before they can use it. So that's the only downfall right now is it's not something that's like a shareable deal, but it's a big time saver because again, they just decrease the number of passes across the field. It gets them in the right spot and they just go and we don't do a lot of headlands, but if you have any curve or anything that follows all that directly, the cultivator guys seem to love it. So those are probably the two biggest things for me.
So those of you not familiar with this area, this central Wisconsin, we call it the Central Sands. Very heavily vegetable crop, but it's a very sandy soil. So most of our crop is not planted with headlands out here. A lot of stack full planters, different things like that to go through. So there's a lot of extra passes that we do on the sand ground. So like Brad said, cultivating, row marking, there could be potentially 5, 6, 7 passes in a field versus the 2 to 3 we normally would see in heavier ground. So hence where that AutoPath and those similar lines being shared is much more important here with multiple operators, multiple tractors, multiple passes across. So one of the things we know John Deere does a good job of, John Deere's a technology company wrapped around tractors, right? They used to be a tractor company. They consider themselves technology. One of the biggest things that we know is coming and is here currently is autonomy. How do you feel autonomy down the road is going to benefit a farm like here, like Weekly Farms?
I think it's going to have its place. It's going to take a while to get, the bugs worked out, I'm sure. But it's hard to find help. It's hard for almost all of the farms around here to find help. A lot of us, we have H2A help or whatever. So we always have a shortage of help. So if you can send a tractor out to do tillage while you're planting in the same field or something or whatever, it's a big deal. I think it'll all work in the end. But I think for our farm, it would be nice to have an autonomous tractor, if nothing else, just for tillage stuff, just to kind of ease the burden on the tractor guys, I guess.
Sure.
So
Absolutely. So one of the things we know, Deere is always improving. They're always looking to advance themselves. So in all that technology, all the operator center, there's always a feedback button at the bottom of each of those items. So don't be afraid to enter that feedback. You know, positive feedback's good feedback. And that's where changes get made, is when we find these things. And I know you've mentioned in the past you've used the feedback button and offered some suggestions on how to improve, because Deere is interested in more than just corn and soy. And we see that in Wisconsin. We have a vast variety of every single crop, and sometimes more of that crop than corn and soy. So it is an advantage. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Thanks for doing this. And again, thank you for watching this episode of Leap Forward, and see you the next time.
We're your John Deere dealer coming through for you, Riesterer and Schnell.